Public hearing for City Council for Monday, September 17th. Open the public hearing, and Brenda, if you could read aloud the notice.
Good morning. This public hearing is being held to hear from anyone that may be affected by the proposed amendments to the city's zoning bylaw. Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 4391 adds the definition of cannabis retail store and the general regulations for the production, distribution, or sale of cannabis. And the Annual Business License and Regulation Amendment Bylaw number 4389 adds the definition of cannabis production and sale and includes license fees. And there were no responses received.
Thank you. No correspondence or delegations.
There was none.
So I'll call for a first time for any comments from anyone in regards to the issue. And for a second time, comments. And for a third time, any comment. Thank you. We'll close the public hearing and move to our regular meeting of council for Monday, September 17th. We'll call the meeting to order. Our delegations this morning will begin with 2.1. We have Jamie Maxwell from the Dawson Creek Triathlon in attendance regarding a letter of request and support that Jamie sent in. So good morning, Jamie. Welcome. The delegation table and floor is yours, and we allow 10 minutes for our delegation. So welcome and good to have you here, and thanks for coming again.
Thanks a lot. Mayor and councillors, thank you for granting me the time to speak to you. The Dawson Creek Triathlon in 2018 had glorious weather and 53 registrations. Kids of Steel continues to be a valuable part of our event with 20 youth from age 4 to 12. There were 33 athletes from age 16 to 52. There were only 2 relay teams. There were 21 athletes from Dawson Creek, 16 from Grand Prairie, 11 from Fort St. John, and 2 from Cleardale. So the event continues to draw from the BC and Alberta piece. There was a 12-year-old athlete from Stony Plain, and his parents told me this was his 42nd Kids of Steel race in his life.
Wow.
And each year he wanted to find a new one, and we were his new one. I would like to say that the sidewall damage from last year in the creek on the Dawson Trail had stabilized, and pedestrians were obviously using the route. We elected to use cautionary signage and run the athletes through the area to the Brookside Cemetery, which was our turnaround for most adult racers. I am still a fan of the Dawson Trail, and I hope that some maintenance will take place in the future. I know it's a problematic area for the city. The various parts of the cycle and run course took place with fewer and fewer problems, as this was our 3rd year and slight changes have been made based on experience. I am reminded of a quote from somewhere. Good decisions come from experience. Experience comes from bad decisions. Improved signage and excellent volunteers also helped for things to run smoothly. Comments from parents and adult racers included volunteers were helpful, friendly, and knew the course. We were worried that concurrent events such as summer cruise and music in the park would conflict, but we don't think that happened. We were also stressed to learn that the Fort St. John Triathlon on May 27th, which had been a staple for many years, was cancelled due to low registrations. On the same weekend, I was in Prince George for the PG Kids Tri, which was in its 24th year, and they had over 100 youth. Recently, the Grand Prairie Triathlon, now renamed the Eastlink Triathlon, took place on September 9th, included Kids of Steel, and was hosted by Eastlink Center and the City of Grand Prairie. An issue this year was lower registrations than any previous year, and a staple of the Peace Region or Dawson Creek, late registrations. It's all fine when your family is indecisive, but when you are an event organizer, it causes anxiety. 3 weeks before the event, we had 27 registrations, and I elected to cancel the $1,000 timing system and use 3 stopwatches and 3 clipboards. As I said in my introduction, we settled out at 52 registrations, and that is respectable for a community triathlon, but we're coming from 110 athletes in 2016 and 88 in 2017. We apparently had beginner's luck the first 2 years. Only time will tell what the future holds. As an organizing committee, we do feel that starting promotions earlier outside of our website and our Facebook page is a worthy goal. That's the reason for the early delegation. We hope to have posters out in December and January to catch the New Year's resolution people who need goals. We also plan to have a corporate challenge in the relay event where a team is made of a swimmer, cyclist, and runner, and various organizations and groups may challenge each other to enter a team. In my ask document, I did inquire about city departments who have concurrent goals as ours, assisting with promotion in any form. We have decided that we will run at least one more year on this middle weekend in July. We are pretty sure that Summer Cruise and Music in the Park will be running concurrently. We are hoping this might mean out-of-towners might stay longer and enjoy other attractions. The middle weekend in July is also a weekend that does not have any BC Summer Swimming Association meets anywhere in the region. We're always hoping to attract swimmers to triathlon. Any questions?
Thank you, Jamie. Questions? Councilor Rogers?
Yeah, I just say, that was an awesome day for me. Went to the triathlon, then went to the car show, then went to the music festival, and I think that the triathlon's a great asset to have, and hopefully it can get bigger and better.
Did you run, bike, or swim?
I directed traffic.
Ah, I
I was a volunteer.
I was thinking, boy, you did good to get it all done.
That's a trap.
Any other questions, Councilor Schumann?
So your asks in the letter, are they very much different from last year,
Not
or?
really. No, they aren't much. Well, I've stopped asking for RCMP. We've had really wonderful support from this business, SL Enterprises. She's the traffic control is gratis. She,
Good.
you know, so that's and it's critical to the success of the event because we're crossing the highway. It's wonderful. Yeah, no, there isn't much in there that is new. I've had some discussions with like other staff here in the building about cross promotion. You know, trying to get together on anything that where our goals are concurrent. You know, with the goals that some departments in the city have for healthy living. Yeah. So.
Perfect. Well, and you know, that just when you say that, you make that comment about a local business supporting and giving free gratis, I think maybe there's an opportunity for us as a, you know, just as a little side that we recognize and support and send a letter of appreciation to those businesses that are helping to ensure that we see the effective execution on events in our community. It is a big deal for us, right, in terms of event and sport tourism, and that's one more way we could help ensure that we raise that
That's
level
nice.
of appreciation.
That's nice.
Yeah, good. Any other questions for Jamie? Jamie, thanks so much.
Excellent.
Obviously, you're the, every organization has a main cog, and we really appreciate the work you've done on this, and we'll bring it back under mayor's business.
All retired people have to do something.
Thank you. Item 2.2, we have Brenda Kreitzer, QP Local 2403, and Beautification Committee in regards to our International Day of Peace Proclamation. And Brenda's not here? Well, they're missing out
They are missing it.
on a great event. Good morning, you guys. It's good to have you here again.
Just gonna hold that? Sure, we'll just hold this. There we are.
Good morning, good morning.
Good morning. Oh, good morning.
Nice to see you again. Nice to see you again. Whereas the issue of peace embraces the deepest hopes of all people and remains humanity's guiding inspiration, and whereas in 1981 the United Nations proclaimed the International Day of Peace be devoted to commemorating and strengthening the ideals of peace both within and among all nations and peoples. And whereas there is a growing support within our city for the observance of the International Day of Peace, which affirms a vision of our world at peace and fosters cooperation between individuals, organizations, and nations. Now therefore I do hereby proclaim September 21st, 2018, International Day of Peace in Dawson Creek, and encourage all governments, organizations, schools, places of worship, and residents in and around the surrounding community to commemorate in an appropriate manner the International Day of Peace.
Yay.
And I think I have to sign that big card as well. I don't have to, I get to.
Oh, you're lucky.
That's a pretty big proclamation.
If we value our own lives and the lives of our children and all children everywhere, if we honor both the past and the future, then we must do everything in our power to work non-violently for peace. By Margaret Lawrence.
Nice. So there is your proclamation. There's your big check. We usually give out big checks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's good to see you.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
And I signed.
It's all right.
Come here.
Our next delegation, 2.3, is Chelsea Modishaw, Aaron Oliver, Carla Boyd, and Kit Fast from the City of Dawson Creek and Dawson Creek Watershed Society, in attendance regarding British Columbia's Rivers Day proclamation. Good morning, good morning, good morning, you guys. How are you? Good to see you. Good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning.
Oh, now Kit's all
Good morning,
left
good
out.
morning. No, he's not.
Oh, good. I'm
No,
glad.
he's not. Welcome. Thanks for coming this morning.
Thanks for having us.
Whereas the rivers of British Columbia played an important role in the discovery and heritage of our province, and whereas rivers are an integral part of our natural environment upon which every living thing is dependent, and whereas the province, recognizing the importance and significance of rivers for environmental, economic, and recreational value for the citizens of British Columbia, desire to preserve this resource in its natural state. And whereas the Outdoor Recreation Council of British Columbia, in cooperation with the provincial government and the citizens of the province, strive to encourage a greater awareness of the value of this resource among all residents. Now, therefore, I do hereby proclaim September 23rd, 2018 as British Columbia Rivers Day at Dawson Creek. Sorry, big girl.
No worries.
Obviously, the importance of Dawson Creek, right? It says it all in our name, and so we really appreciate the enthusiasm, the passion that you guys have always demonstrated to help us preserve that important infrastructure for our community, and always appreciate the work, dedication that you put towards it. So thank you for coming in. Floor is yours.
So this Sunday, we have our Rivers Day Park and Play event, and our focus is to do a community tree plant. So we've teamed up with the Dawson Creek Watershed Society and Community Services to bring this event to our community. It'll be at Barbary Park from 11 until 2, so the Chamberlain Park area. And due to paving, access will be probably from the north side or the O'Brien location, 106th Ave. And so at this event, residents will be able to obviously learn more about our creek. They'll be able to make a mark, plant a tree, plant something they can see grow with time. They can also learn about BC bats, chronic wasting that we're having our provincial liaisons come and speak on, and then also the Watershed Society.
And so the trees that we're planting on that day are just the plugs. They've been provided by Woodmere. And then, in addition to that, through the federal funding that we got through the Watershed Society, we're planting 40 trees that require a tree planter, so they're decent-sized trees. And that'll be in the Barbary Chamberlain Park area.
We received a lot of assistance from the Dawson Creek Disc Golf in planning, and also they're going to help with planting. So not only will the trees provide habitat, be something where people can take an onus on their own environment, but they're also going to be providing some safety for our disc golf users. So they will act as barriers to the creek, so they're not having to scale banks to retrieve discs. So, yeah.
Just the other part of that is we also have marked, I believe, 30 trees for fencing, so that trees of significant size that we don't want beavers to take down will be fenced.
And that's all along the whole Dawson Creek. So if you see flagging tape or some random chicken wire that's coming around trees, that's what it's for, is to fence off from beaver.
Yeah, thanks for many
sponsors. In particular, we'd like to thank Woodmere Nursery, who have donated the 100 to 200 small trees for us to plant, as well as the Dawson Creek Disc Golf Club, who did help with the planting of where we'd like to plant the trees to help them with their golfing.
Great.
Good job, guys.
Thank you.
I have a little something for you.
No.
Where did you have those
A
ideas?
fish pencil.
Her pocket.
One side.
Thanks so much for coming in today and
Thanks so much for having us.
beautifying the beaches.
Perfect.
Those disc golf guys are everywhere.
They're passionate.
How am I gonna race with this?
Don't make a mistake.
Number one comment about the pencils. Name it.
I like it.
Our next delegation this morning, 2.4, we have Aaron Oliver and Tiffany Hettenye from the City of Dawson Creek Community Services in attendance regarding National Coaches Week proclamation. Tiffany, good morning. I always get the mayor's hug. Welcome. Erin sent you in alone?
Yes.
Did she? Whew, nasty Erin. She's got lots to do. Right. Whereas coaches have a positive impact on the athletes and communities across Canada, and whereas coaches dedicated their time ensuring Canadians live an active, healthy lifestyle, and whereas events are being held throughout Canada to celebrate coaching, and whereas we would like to take the time to recognize and thank the coaches in our community by saying #ThanksCoach. Now therefore I do hereby proclaim September 22nd to September 30th, 2018 as National Coaches Week in Dawson Creek. I want to say that for me, in my early days with my kids growing up, we were involved in all kinds of sports, and I was the district coaching coordinator for BC Amateur Hockey, and we spent all those years involved in coaching, and what an amazing opportunity it is for all of us to volunteer and spend that time with kids, and also from a personal perspective, the personal development you get from being involved in coaching has been a big asset. So thank you so much for coming in this morning and delivering this, and the floor is yours.
Okay. So National Coaches Week is from September 22nd to the 30th. Coaches have a positive impact on athletes and communities and devote a large amount of time for Canadians to live active. They are role models, leaders, and supporters, providing training and guidance, and deserve a thanks coach. For this week, letters will be submitted to Community Services thanking coaches for what they have done for an individual and your community. At the end of the week, Community Services will select a coach with the best thanks coach letter, and that coach will win a prize basket with items donated by local businesses. Letters can be submitted to Community Services by 4:30 p.m. September 30th. These letters can be emailed or dropped off downstairs at Community Services, and the winning letter will be posted on the city Facebook page recognizing the coaches that is selected and the businesses that provided donations.
Oh, great job. Thank you. Thanks so much for coming in this morning. So that ends our delegation contingents for this morning. So we'll move on to now item 3 on the agenda, new councillor business. Councillor Wilbur.
Very close. I've passed out to everyone just kind of the MIABC board highlights. So I did attend UBCM as our voting member. And hello to Councillor McFadden from his counterparts, because he's usually the one that goes. So just some material on what's been going on with MIABC. As well, I did attend all the resource breakfasts, and what I found very interesting, and I did comment to both Energy and Forestry that perhaps they would like to do this. I passed out kind of a leaflet that was given out at the mining, and basically it says one province, one economy. And what I found interesting was on the back side, that 55 companies in Dawson Creek, which brings in about $5 million in economic development to our community, support mining in our area. So it was kind of a breakdown by communities and how many businesses in those communities support the mining industry. So I thought it was very interesting, and I don't know, maybe we'll be able to get that out so the community can look at it as well, maybe on our Facebook page or something. I know I did post it. So just there for councils to browse. I also want to say congratulations to all of our fellow NCLGA members that were elected to the UBCM board, and I think we're going to be very well represented for North Central BC at UBCM. So congratulations to all of them. And I know the mayor's going to have lots under UBCM. So it was a very busy week, but very fruitful and educational. The other thing that I think was most rewarding to me was the session on homelessness and finding out the opportunities and obstacles for communities in dealing with that issue. So I know the slides are available through the UBCM site, so maybe staff could look for that. But it was, I think, some really good information for us moving forward. It's quite lengthy, so I didn't bother to bring that and have it photocopied because it is pretty large, but great information. And the only other thing, I just want to remind everybody that it is Tim Hortons Cookie Day today, so $1 for a cookie, and all of that money will go to support our Dawson Creek and District Hospital Foundation. So go to Timmy's and buy a cookie today. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Schumann?
Yeah, so I want to thank the City of Dawson Creek for the opportunity to go to UBCM. It was a really busy week, but we had all sorts of learning opportunities. The session that Shaylee and I attended on homelessness, it really sort of took a deep dive into not just homelessness, but you know, the different types of housing that might be needed in communities. And considering the fact that we have the Grandview property up the hill there, that we're hoping to develop into something around that in the future, it really gave us a lot of food for thought for, you know, once we recognize those gaps and understand what we need in the community. So it gave us a lot of information. I think our minister meetings that we attended, and I'll let Mayor Bumstead go further into that. What's his name over there? I'll let him do all the talking about that, but I think that we were very well received, and as usual, we voted on, 180 resolutions, sat-in resolutions, sessions, and always defending the North. It seems we're always sort of in the scope of some of the southern communities, so it's a good thing we're there, and we're rallying our colleagues across the North to be supportive of the North. So yeah, thanks again for letting me attend that.
Great, thank you. Councillor Rogers?
Yeah.
Just one more thing.
Sorry, go ahead.
So I know that Councillor Rogers is was interested in, there's a program where we can send youth delegates off to UBCM each year. And we talked about that at our North Central Local Government Association. And over the next year, we are hoping to be able to figure out what that all means, whether it means that kids or youth from our high schools, or if it's college or whatever, but we're going to look more into that so that possibly for next UBCM we can have a youth delegate from either Dawson Creek or somewhere in the North. I think we can send 3 from the North, so we're hoping to get that all organized a little bit earlier next year so that we might be able to take advantage of that and take some youth to UBCM as well.
November.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yep, go ahead.
Couple of things. Through Northern Development, we had a regional advisory committee here recently, and just to follow up on some of the funding projects that are in our area, I went out and I looked at the Nordic ski trails. They've done some significant upgrades to the culverts and stuff like that. They've also got another application that they're looking at putting in for a ski park, which is kind of cool. So you'll be hearing a little bit more about that. But I also went over to the Bear Mountain ski hill. They did some significant upgrades to the snowmaking equipment over there for infrastructure. And then with the recent snow that's been out there, I should note that these facilities are looking for selling their memberships and stuff like that. Even if you don't ski, buy a membership anyways, because those facilities are all run by volunteers and businesses that help keep these facilities going and stuff. And they're just a great asset to our region. And then, having said that, Mayor, you said something earlier when we were talking about, like, through the coaches, and when Jamie was here talking about the people in the community that help put on all of these facilities, and you were talking about sending out a letter. Should we not have a proclamation for that? Just a thought.
Yeah.
Because without the businesses, I'm pretty sure that Bear Mountain Ski Hill and all of these other assets that we have, without local business helping and stuff like that, I don't think it would be possible. There is one thing, I'm going to kind of bounce around a little bit here. At our Regional Advisory Committee, the City of Dawson Creek put forward a motion to the Regional District for a feasibility study, which I'm not allowed to talk about right yet because the Regional District hasn't been informed about that. But part of that discussion that we had was Fort St. John had said, Mayor Ackerman had said that they are going ahead with a field house in Fort St. John. I haven't heard anything about it. I don't know if there's shovels in the ground or anything like that. But I do believe that speaking to the feasibility study for a field house in northeast British Columbia is something that we should really be looking at. Northwest BC, I have been talking to people over in that region and pitching the same thing, that they need a field house as well. And then hopefully with the information that Fort St. John has gathered for their field house, if they have done a business case or anything like that, that it could be shared with Northwest BC. But also, I think it's really important to note that that through the feasibility study, that if it goes ahead, that you will find out a lot of important information, like how many soccer teams are out there, because we're going to be talking about that a little bit later too. How many soccer teams? I believe there's 15,000 registered, or was it 150? Anyway, there's a lot of people that are registered in sports, and I think it's really important to know how many people are actually participating in these sports, and how many tournaments are going on, and how many opportunities there are moving forward, even with Dawson Creek's tourism model for sports and events. How many teams are out there? Like, I think that that's a number that we really need to know, and especially for the health of the of our region, to find out how many people are actually out there doing things and being active.
Good.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other councillor business? Minutes. We'll go to 4.1, minutes of our public hearing of council for our Fish Community Plan bylaw number 4373 from August 20th. Councillor Schumann, Councillor Wilbur. Any errors or omissions? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Minutes of our public hearing of council for the zoning amendment bylaw 4382 for 801 120th Avenue for adoption. Councillor Schumann, Councillor Rogers. Any errors or omissions in that? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Minutes of our regular meeting of council from August 20th for adoption. Councillor Rogers, second Councillor Wilbur. Any errors or omissions? All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Business arising out of any of the minutes for anyone? Move on to 6 correspondence. 6.1, we have a letter from Jason Elligot, Executive Director of BC Soccer, regarding a request for a letter of support for the hashtag #RespectAll for soccer associations in British Columbia. Councillor Schumann?
So moved.
Move that we send a letter of support. Seconded. Councillor McFadden, discussion. Councillor Wilbur?
I just want to add that great initiative and happy to support it, but actually all of the soccer players in Dawson Creek are actually registered under Alberta Soccer. We're not a part of the BC Association.
Oh, cool.
Oh, hence the feasibility study might help us with that information. And it is,
Sorry I mentioned. Sorry I
it is
mentioned.
15,000 people that are registered for BC, and I have no idea how many are registered in Alberta.
Yeah,
Like, it's amazing.
a big thing. Great initiative by
Good
BC,
initiative.
by the BC Soccer Association. I know it's been in a lot of the other associations, minor hockey and the others, so good
So
job.
that's part of putting up signage at the park?
Duncan?
So through your worship, the request is that we'll also put some signage up at our soccer park at the expense of the city as well.
Any idea of cost?
It sounds like it's just a waterproofing signage, so I think it'd be chloroplast. I don't know that it would be that expensive.
Okay.
We could work that out of the operational budget if council wanted to do that.
Thank you. It's part of the request? Part of the motion?
Yeah.
Good. Everybody okay with that? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
In the spring.
6.2, we have a letter from Franca Petrucci, Advisor for Community and Indigenous Engagement from Enbridge regarding the gas processing facility invitation to consultant notification. Enbridge are doing a bunch of work out west. Councillor Javetkov?
I received for information.
Thank you. Seconded, Councillor Schumann. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Second letter regarding the sales gas booster compressor invitation to consultant notification. And so I'm just going to speak to it really very quickly because I went to their open house. They're doing an expansion to the Tupper West plant out on the Fellers Heights Road to Tumbler Ridge. It's going to require, I think it's doubling the capacity of the plant. They're going to go from about 190 million cubic feet of gas per day to about twice that. When they built that plant years ago, they didn't have the access to the grid. They didn't have the power on the grid available, so they co-gened it. They built their own generation facility to produce the power for the facility. They're going to double the capacity of this plant, and they're also going to build another compressor station. They're going to hook a transmission line to electrify the facility to the grid. And so there's about 3 components to this that they're doing, and that's all very, very positive. And they'll double the treatment plant size to about 400 million cubic feet of gas per day. So
Nice.
here's a little background. Councillor Schumann?
For information.
Thank you. Seconded? Councillor Wilbur? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 6.4, a letter from regarding the transmission line and electrification.
That'll be for information.
Thank you. Councillor Roger, seconded. Councillor Schumann. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you for keeping us
Well,
informed.
yeah, really, thanks for keeping us informed. It's actually, it's a good read.
You're welcome. 6.5, we have a letter from Laura Jones, Executive Director of the Canadian Federation of Independent Business regarding the Municipal Red Tape Challenge. Red Tape Reduction Challenge, I should say. Duncan?
So through your worship, the nominations are open only for another 10, 11 days, so it might be a little short time frame to implement these strategies. It could be something we could look at next year.
Good. Councillor Schumann?
So for information to look at next year.
Thank you. Seconded, Councillor Wilbur. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. 6.6, we have a letter from Leslie Wager, Marketing Manager for the Dawson Creek Junior Canucks, request for a donation for their annual fundraising golf tournament. Duncan?
So through your worship, we are currently working on a policy regarding sponsorship and donations. However, we do have some swag. We do have a putter that might fit for this event if council wanted to provide something.
Okay. We have a tickle trunk down there that we can
Swag,
dig
yeah.
into and
Some swag.
maybe give something. Councillor Schumann?
Yeah, I would move that we donate a prize or two, some swag out of our tickle trunk to the Junior Canucks golf tournament.
Thank you. Seconded? Councillor Wilbur. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 6.7, we have a letter from Peter Robinson, Chief Technology Officer from the Community Energy Association regarding a request for a letter of support for the STEP Code implementation project. Councillor Schumann.
So we are members of the Community Energy Association, and this request is simply a request for us to provide a letter of support so that they may go to the real estate board to get some funding to move forward some of these initiatives. There's nothing in this letter that indicates that we must participate or move towards this. It's right now. I believe it's a voluntary thing when you start changing up your step codes, but I think staff might have more information on the step code, but I would move that we provide a letter of support.
Thank you. Seconded. Councillor Wilbur, discussion. Duncan?
So, through your worship, step code, some background information. April 2017, the province essentially allowed this to be a voluntary code compliance. It has to do with monitoring and energy usage within private construction within the building code, where people would need to meet a higher standard for energy efficiency. Peter, I know, sits with that board. Do you have any additional information, Peter?
Well, the one thing I will say is that the province, through their Clean Growth Intentions paper, is expecting, if that goes through, to require all municipalities in BC by 2022 to be at level 3 for the residential code. So I guess the implication would be that the more we can learn about it by 2022, the better position the region would be to meet the
Thank you. And I know the Real Estate Foundation of British Columbia are always involved in doing initiatives that help organizations, and certainly the regional district. We did a $400,000 or $500,000 aquifer study in partnership with the Real Estate Foundation of BC. So good organization providing some support.
And they're working with BC House.
Yeah. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. It deals with correspondence. Item 7 is our reports. Our first report, 7.1. We have a memo from our Deputy Corporate Officer regarding the District of Kitimat request for support for LNG Canada project and the Coastal GasLink project for ratification. And this was the one we sent out earlier. Councillor Javetkov?
I'll move we ratify the motion that the memo from the Deputy Corporate Officer, District of Kitimat, request for support for the LNG Canada project and associated Trans-Canada Coastal GasLink pipeline be received. Further, that the approval of Mayor Dale Bumstead providing support for the LNG Canada project and associated Trans-Canada Coastal GasLink pipeline on behalf of the City of Dawson Creek be ratified.
Thank you. Seconded, Councillor Rogers. Discussion? So it was a little misunderstanding on my part in terms of our policy, and the ladies made sure to clarify that for me, and it was good. It was good for us to have that, and I don't reach out very often, but when I do, I appreciate your guys' willingness to do that, and we'll clarify it as we move forward for another month. Anyway, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 7.2, we have a memo from the Deputy Corporate Officer regarding our Municipal Insurance Association voting delegates for ratification. Councillor Schumann?
So moved.
Seconded. Councillor Rogers. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 7.3, we have report 18-142 from the building inspector regarding 1532 Loran Drive with a suggested note we place against the land title under section 57. Background before we move a motion, Duncan?
Sure. So, through your worship, I'll ask Kevin grab the mic and maybe provide a bit of background, or Alex.
Through your worship, the subject property, when they constructed the existing buildings, they constructed some additional foundations, and we learned here recently that those foundations were not permitted as part of the original construction. So we've got, I believe there's 3 or 4 foundations sitting there that we have no permit or inspections on. So the report lays out the options moving forward. One is that we can go down through a remedial action. Those foundations can be removed and the site restored, or the owner can hire an engineer and go through and do some inspections and provide some comfort to the city that everything's been met.
Thank you. So they just went ahead and built some foundations without the approval of any process?
Yes, and through your worship, my understanding also, and I'll verify with Kevin, is that they're currently not constructing on these foundations. They've been fenced in, and they're just sitting there.
Yeah, through your worship, those foundations have been sitting for some time, and they did have some covers on them to protect them. They've subsequently have fallen in on themselves, so to speak. So we became aware of that and we had them put up some fencing just to make sure the site was safe. And then once we were going through all of that, that's when we learned that they hadn't been permitted properly.
So a technical question then before we move forward is, so the longer these foundations that are there without having the necessary inspections, do they deteriorate to the point where if they did, we would ensure that they're safe to be built on in the future should that move forward?
So through your worship, that's what we're looking for right now, is either an engineer to stamp them or to indicate that they can't be used and they're removed. Kevin, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. Councillor Schuman and Councillor Javetkov.
So I'd move the recommendation, report number 18142 from the building inspector regarding 1532 Loran Drive, section 57 note against land title be received. Further, the building inspector and property owner be provided with an opportunity to be heard with respect to the following recommended steps to obtain compliance with the BC Building Code and Building Regulation Bylaw number 4287. Number 1, completely remove the foundations, dispose of building materials and debris at a landfill, and get the property back to grade and 100% soil compaction with clean fill. Or the building owner must A, hire a professional engineer registered in the province of BC and submit a stamped code review providing recommendations on how to fix any deficiencies for all 4 foundations. B, submit a building permit application, a complete set of building drawings, a home warranty registration for all 4 buildings. C, correct foundation deficiencies identified by the engineer. And D, provide a stamped letter of compliance from the engineer for all 4 foundations.
Thank you. Second, Councillor Wilbur. Discussion, Councillor Javetkov.
I was going to second
Okay,
it.
thank you. Councillor Rogers, you had...
I just wonder, are the property taxes all paid up on that property? Like, is there any outstanding money owed to the city for property tax?
Okay.
To your worship, we'll have to look into that.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? Councillor Wilbur?
I'm just wondering through staff and in these discussions, is there any way to, I mean, the tarps have fallen in on these things. It's very close to Crescent Park School, so we have lots of curious kids wandering by there. Is there a way in those discussions to have them have a more secure top put over these things this winter? Like, honestly, I could see a kid really curious walking over there and falling in. They were white tarps, so we got snow coming. So I'm just wondering if within those discussions, this is going to be a bit of a process, that we have the ability to say you need to provide even better security over these open holes, these pits, basically, that these kids could be in. So just wondering.
So through your worship, and I go back to Kevin, I believe we've requested they fence them in order to secure that site. Kevin, they are fenced in?
Yes, through your worship. We have had them, or they have fenced them with chain link, so that's the first step to try and keep anybody out of the site.
Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Ready for the question? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 7.4, we have report 18143 from the corporate officer regarding the appointment of our SPCA bylaw enforcement officer. Councillor Rogers.
Move the report number 14-143 from the corporate officer regarding appointment of bylaw enforcement officer, BBC. Further, that Mornay Jacobs and Sarah Harris be appointed as a bylaw enforcement officers for the city of Dawson Creek. Further, that the appointment of Kira Tack be rescinded.
Thank you. Seconded. Councillor McFadden. Discussion. So I see we have Wendy in the gallery, and would council be, are you here for interest, or are you here wanting to speak?
No, we were just here. This is Mornay Jacobs. I was just bringing him down.
Okay, good. So we require a motion of unanimous consent for council to have somebody address the delegation, and I didn't know if you wanted to do that or not, but as long as you're here for observe, we're good to see you. Thank you. Further discussion on the motion? Did I have a seconder?
Yeah. Yep.
Councillor McFadden. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, Wendy.
And welcome.
7.5, we have report 18145 from the Deputy Corporate Officer regarding our cannabis application fee and policy. Councillor Wilbur.
Hi. I move that report number 18-145 from the Deputy Corporate Officer regarding cannabis application fees and policy be received. Further, that the fee for cannabis retail store license applications be set at $100 plus advertising costs. And further, that staff be directed to prepare a liquor and cannabis license application policy and a fees and charges amendment bylaw for council's consideration.
Thank you. Seconded, Councillor Schumann. Discussion? Ready for the question? All in favor? Opposed? It's carried. 7.6, we have report 18148 from the Deputy Chief Financial Officer. I guess the Chief Financial Officer was busy that day. I love to give her a little dig every once in a while. Regarding our banking services contract extension regulations 2018-19, Councillor Rogers.
Move that report number 18-148 from the Deputy Chief Financial Officer regarding banking services contract extension request for 2018 to 2019 be received. Further, that the appointment of auditors and bankers policy be waived. And further, that council authorize staff to renew the banking services agreement with TD Canada Trust for 1-year term, effective October the 1st, 2018 to September the 30th, 2019.
Thank you. Seconded, Councillor Schumann. Discussion? You ready for the question? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 7.7, we have report 18149 from the General Manager of Development Services regarding our non-domestic water surcharge, and this is bringing it back for us to be able to have further discussion on the aspect of non-domestic. Councillor Schumann?
Yeah, I move report number 18149 from the General Manager of Development Services regarding non-domestic water surcharge be received. Further, that staff be directed to schedule a meeting with potable water haulers to discuss the proposed commercial threshold of 14 cubic meters prior to preparing a bylaw amendment to water resale bylaw number 4058.
Second, Councillor Schumann. Discussion. Wilbur's discussion. Councillor Rogers?
I wasn't quite clear, and I just want to, if I could ask that. So there's a threshold of 14 cubic meters. So that means after 14 cubic meters, it's going to be a higher rate?
Yeah.
So what if there was a water hauler that was making 2 or 3 deliveries, and needed to, and are there any at all that would take more than 14 cubes? Because this goes back to, it's a lot easier to make one trip and then pick somebody else up along the line rather than coming back and forth to town all the time.
Duncan?
So through your worship, this direction came to staff through council, and we were looking at that added pressure on our water treatment system, and we were looking at thresholds. There's also some discussion about the intended use of the water, and so we've gone through and we've looked for a number or a threshold, being 14 cubes, where there's some added pressure on the system, and also that intended use changes. It's no longer supplying rural, but it's moving into more of a commercial or a work camp type of use. So as far as your question, how many people are using over 14, we've determined that the payback would be less than a year, just based on people using over 14 cubes. So 14 or 15 cubes, you'd be charged at the higher rate for 1 cube over 14. And there is a payback, and yeah, there is usage, and it's as high as 22 or maybe even 30, I think, was some of our higher usage. We based it on one typical customer and really made some assumptions, so it's a bit of a work in progress. That's why we are recommending that we meet with the haulers, just so we understand exactly what's going to happen and ensure that we're meeting that intent.
And how we sell fobs for the purchase of water doesn't differentiate today. It just is at the truck fill station. So this gives us a way, and hopefully, in which we can do it. And to me, that non-domestic surcharge was built into there for a purpose. I think it was non-residential. It's described, and so I think this is a way for us to move down that road to be able to ensure that we get effective payback for the costs of our water utility for residential, non-resident, and commercial non-resident, and volumes that put additional pressure on the system. Go ahead.
Yeah,
and then Councillor Javeco.
Well, we're talking about additional pressures on the system, but years ago, our commercial water haulers those numbers are down. They're significantly down. So there might be an argument because you'll get people saying that, well, like the All Clean Fluids, the Curtis York, and the Rockwater, they're not selling as much water anymore as they used to. And you've had upgrades up at the water treatment plant, so they might be saying, I'm not buying this added pressure to our system.
So you're talking two different purposes then, industrial purposes that we have where those guys can completely utilize their own infrastructure to fill versus commercial at our truck fill stations that we don't differentiate between the volumes that are put on, the pressure of volumes put on our system based on a commercial like a camp provider who might have 200 or 300 or 400 cubes of water per week, and they're paying the same as a resident, and each are paying for the cost of building our infrastructure. That's why I think we need to look at this.
Yeah, okay.
Councillor Javetka?
Just a comment. I mean, you know, we're going to consult the haulers. That's the key point here. So, you know, that's what we need to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And on that point, I've asked for council's consideration that I'd like to be part of those meetings with them, just so we can make sure we explain and give the rationale for it. And we are looking at water rates. We've got that review underway for, it's been 8 years since we've addressed the water rates. So it's a good time to do that, and I want to be part of that discussion with them.
And we've invested a lot of money in that.
Yeah. Any further discussion? Ready for the question? All in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. You good to go for a bit? Everybody, you don't need a break?
Good.
7.7, we just did 7.8, report 18141 from the city planner regarding development permit application 1804 for Petro-Canada at 401 Alaska Highway. Councillor Javetka.
I move the report number 18-141 from the city planner redevelopment permit application DP 18-04 be received. Further, development permit number 18-04 Petro-Canada 401 Highway 49 be approved for the construction of a Quonset building and lunchroom, washroom facility, and the permit be issued.
Thank you. Seconded. Councillor Wilbur. Discussion? Duncan?
So through your worship, just take this opportunity to introduce Aaron Thompson in the corner or in the side. Aaron is our new planner here with the city of Dawson Creek. Comes from Seashell, worked in Pooskoopi before that, and is from the region.
Welcome. Good to have you. It's good to have you here. Alex says it's good to have you here.
She sent out a memo.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. Report 18152 from the city planner regarding development permit 1805 for PC oil field at 501 Highway 49. Councillor Roger.
Move the report number 18-152 from the city planner regarding development permit DP 18-05 PC oil field 501 Highway 49 be received. Further, that staff be authorized to issue development permit number 18-05 for PC oil field permitting the construction of the proposed new building at 501 Highway 49 dependent on comments opposed to the development being received during the notification period.
Thank you. Seconded. Councillor Wilbur. Discussion? Duncan?
So through your worship, I'd like to point out between 7.8 and 7.9, there's a bit of a difference. 7.8, we had done our public consultation as per the charter. 7.9, we are asking council to delegate that authority to approve this permit prior to receiving those comments, and if we do not receive any opposing comments, then we would issue the permit at that time. We've got a request from some developers in the community to try to speed up our development permit process. You'll see a bylaw under the bylaw section trying to update that process and allow staff or delegate that authority to approve these and turn them around really essentially within 10 to 20 days. So.
Good. And when Duncan explained this to me, I said, we need to, council doesn't need to be the driving force here in terms of saying chug it along until we get our chance to see it and give the approval of it. I think we need to be proactive about that in terms of allow our procedure bylaw, our bylaws to allow the business to proceed without us feeling like we have to be the ones to approve it all and delegate that authority. Councillor Chevekov?
So when will we, when does the time run out for the consultation?
On this particular, sorry, through your worship, on this particular, I believe it was 18 days, and I believe it is Thursday or Friday of this week. So it's only, unfortunately, in this case, sped the development permit up by a week, but I spoke with the company working on this, and they appreciate the fact that we're trying to speed up this process.
So would there be any delays in issuing a building permit, or would that go ahead as well?
So through your worship, the approach we're taking is there would be three reasons that or three basic reasons why DP would come back to council. If we received opposing comments, if we were recommending that the permit be denied, or if it had some kind of temporary use or variance, which is required by council. Otherwise, no comments received, it would be approved by staff and this project would proceed.
And normally we'd have to wait now, do that period of public consultation, public notification to expire before it can come back to us to give an approval. You delay it another 2 weeks or a month. So, no, good job. Thank you.
They want to get moving on the project.
Yeah, and
too,
we
so
should be
you gotta
encouraging that, right?
Yeah.
People want to move forward with development and
And
positive
it's all
development.
zoned
for
right,
this community.
perfect, perfect spot.
Councillor Wilbur?
Oh, I just want to say, kind of in relation to something that was on the agenda earlier, I think we're already on our way on red tape reduction, so kudos to our staff. This makes a difference.
Good job. Further discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. At 7:10, we have report 18154 from the Development Services Manager regarding our flood mitigation implementation plan. Councillor Schumann?
Move report number 18154 from the Development Services Manager regarding the flood mitigation implementation plan be received. Further, that the implementation plan be executed as per the schedule included within this report. Further, that staff be directed to proceed with the following flood mitigation actions. 1. Install hydrometric stations using monies from the Flood Mitigation Flood Fund Reserve for the installation. 2, direct staff to create a policy statement that the city will avoid increasing flood risk until the zoning bylaw update is completed, and to update the OCP bylaw based on Ebwater's recommendations. And 3, direct staff to present a flood mapping project estimate in the 2019 budgeting process.
Thank you. Seconded, Councillor Wilbur. Discussion? Councillor Rogers?
Yeah, I know Mr. Parslow would sure love to be here. When I was reading it, there was one recommendation that was in there, and it was 102nd Street culverts and 17th Street bridge not recommended at this time. And I just, when I read it, it doesn't look like we're doing a whole lot. I thought that part of it would have come out because we don't know, the city of Dawson Creek doesn't know what most of the outfalls from our own water going into the creek are. But we're gonna meter what's coming in from the outside of Dawson Creek. So we're gonna meter water that comes in from outside of Dawson Creek, which, if you look at the Water Act, is the responsibility of the province of British Columbia, and it's water that's coming in from the regional district. So why is it the city of Dawson Creek has to pay for all of that research, where it should be partnered with the regional district and with the province? And I really think that we need to know what we are putting into that creek from our roads, from our buildings around it, stuff like that. Those were my only comments. I don't know if staff would have anything else further to add regarding what I just said. And going back to the bridge and stuff, I can kind of see that maybe that needs a little bit more study, but I think we're doing a whole lot of studying here. But
So now I will talk about our meetings in Victoria with the ministry folks later on in the agenda when it comes up, but I think the report that we got from Water really identified 3 or 4 key bits of work that we really need to take in, and I was struck by the comments in that report about, look, this is a complex issue and you really need to do some work before you can start to spend some money that might have impacts in other areas that you don't fully understand until you do that hydrology and some of that other work. And so I'm really kind of excited about the fact that we have got some data now and some work to help move us forward. Some steps that are recommended for us to undertake. Certainly the ministry, excuse me, when we met with them and we talked about the regional aspects to the impacts to us, and we're going to need some provincial support, federal support as we move down further and undertaking some of that major work. That's the next steps, but we really have to do some of this stuff. We need to engage the Ministry of Transportation and Highways when they do the work on 8th Street to replace that and remove those culverts with a bridge. Then understanding what impacts that has on the hydrology of the creek, and then erosion and flow and impact to other areas and other properties and things. So it really is, I think, important for us to really understand what and how the infrastructure that's being considered and installed, and what we can do to ensure that we do the best investment in infrastructure and protecting those properties as they enter into that floodplain. And that's really the work that's giving us this recommendation today, is about how we ensure that we start to do some of that really important, necessary work, because the last thing we would want to do is spend and invest a whole ton of money and then find out we've created an issue in another area of the creek or flow, because now it's creating issues in downflow, erosion, and things. So I really think that we're on the right track. I know that when, as I say, I was going to speak to it later, but I know we met with Emergency Preparedness BC, the flood, in regards to the flood mitigation and fire prevention, the work that they're doing provincially. They were very pleased with the work we've undertaken and how we're approaching it, because most communities aren't even at this stage and are really facing serious kind of discussions and interactions about how and what they do, right? And that's the, like I say, that of all the things that we got on that report a month ago or 2 weeks ago, was this is a complex issue, and it really does require us to do some of that really important preparatory work to understand how are we going to protect, what are we going to do, the best measures to invest in protecting the infrastructure of those that are impacted by the flooding. So go ahead, and then I got Councillor Javetkov and Councillor Schumann. You would want to finish off?
I'm going to come back. Okay. Yeah. I can go around.
Okay, Councillor Javetkov, then Councillor Schumann.
I guess the main thing I got out of the presentation that we had, was it at the last meeting, was that we need to go through this process if we're going to be applying for help to do the mitigation work. If we're going to be applying to the provincial or federal government, we need to have these research initiatives completed. If we don't, we won't have any luck getting any help from the senior governments. So I think it's just something that we have to do. You know, whether we feel personally that we could continue, like, you know, Highways is replacing the culverts on 8th Street without a bunch of this other research. So, you know, whether or not we think that, we're not going to get any help unless we go through the process.
And we're going to put the touch on somebody federally, provincially, for a significant amount of money, is my worry, and we better be prepared for that ask, and having the proper data and metrics and understanding what the issue is and what we're asking for, because they're not going to buck up with a whole bunch of money without us having a really solid business plan and case in place for that data, for them to say, yeah, we get it, we understand it, and we understand why you want to do this work, because you've got that science to back you up what you're doing. Councillor Schumann?
Yeah, and to Councillor Javetkov's point, when we were in those meetings, they literally basically said, yeah, you got to get all this done before you can put your hand out. So, and I just wanted to Councillor Rogers' point about the hydrometric stations, it's nice to see that they will also be equipped with alert systems to assist in early flood response for city and Ministry of Transportation staff. So it's not just we're, measuring to see what it is. We're going to have those out there so that if there will be alarms on them that will let us know when the flows start increasing, and we might have to take some action as we did this year with the pumps and such, until we get some permanent measures or risk decreasers into the process. So I think that it's definitely a good thing. I mean, the earlier we know that those waters are rising and could affect us, the better.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Roger.
So we'll probably still have staff monitoring the creek anyways, because I know every time there's a flood event or potential, we do get the reports like 2 or 3 a day on what's going on.
So I'm really happy Alan's building the new warehouse, so we got those pumps available.
But I look at there's a lot of data that's already out there, and it's already out there is by the provincial government already, because they've changed the snake pits. They're putting the bridge in down there. They're changing 8th Street. So they already know what's going on in those locations. I think what is important is that we need to be able to know what we're putting into it. So we have a master drainage plan that we had recently received, and there was a lot of recommendations on that. So I really think it's important that we tie the master drainage plan into whatever we do as part of flood mitigation.
Thank you.
That's it.
Good discussion. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. 711, we have report 18155 from the corporate officer regarding the recognition committee for the Boric family. Councillor Wilbur.
Sure, I'll move that report number 18-155 from the corporate officer regarding the recognition committee Boric family be received. Further, that staff be directed to purchase and install a recognition plaque at a suitable location within the Ken Boric Aquatic Center.
Thank you. Second, Councillor Schumann. Discussion? Councillor Wilbur.
I think it's a great idea, and I really just want to thank the Boric family for really supporting the community, because without them we wouldn't probably have that beautiful facility. So I think it's due and it's time.
Yeah, it's an important recognition for a really important family in our community, and certainly Ben and Ken and Rosella were that, and we really appreciate the support that they continue to give and in such a meaningful way. And the Ken Boric Aquatic Center is appropriately named, in my view. Ready for the question? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 712, we have report 18156 from the building inspector regarding 1041 Alaska Avenue, which is recommending a note against the land type. Councillor Schumann.
Oh, it's a big read again. So
Everybody's trying not to make. Everybody's not
Thanks,
making eye contact.
All right, here, I'll just make it bigger. All right, I move report number 18156 from the building inspector regarding 1041 Alaska Avenue, note against land title, section 57 be received. Further, that the corporate officer be directed to file under section 57 of the community charter a notice in the land title office stating that a resolution relating to the land at 1041 Alaska Avenue has been made under this section, and that the following directions provided by the City of Dawson Creek remain outstanding. The building, number one, the building owner must hire a professional architect registered in the province of BC to provide a stamped code review that provides a recommendation on how to fix the deficiencies. Number two, the building owner must submit a building permit application along with stamped plans noted in number one above. Number three, the building department must verify the plan and issue a building permit. And number four, any deficiencies must be corrected by the owner and verified by the architect.
Seconded, Councillor Wilbur. Discussion? Ready for the question? All in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. 713, we have report number 18158 from the building inspector regarding 10425 17th Street, and we need to do some remedial on our motions as well as moving forward. So
I'm not putting my hand up.
Okay, here, I'll do it.
Councillor Rogers,
Okay, everybody
first
can take-
one.
Everybody can take a nap right now, and Bill, I'm not very impressed.
Maybe we could just move the motion.
Okay, so
We need just to do one
how
first.
far do you
Oh,
want
yeah,
to go?
one.
We just need to do the first one.
Resolution
Okay.
number 1.
Staff recommends consideration of the two separate motions. Resolution number 1, the report number 18-158 from the Building Department, 10/4/25 17th Street remedial action be received. Further, that the motion adopted on July the 3rd, 2018 regarding report number 18-108 titled 10425 17th Street remedial action be rescinded.
Thank you. Seconded, Councillor Schumann. Discussion? Are you all those in favor? Opposed? Carry. Carry on if you'd like.
Maybe someone else could take this.
Resolution number 2. Whereas the council of the city of Dawson Creek considers the building on the property located at 10425 17th Street, the property is in and creates an unsafe condition. It is a nuisance and a danger to be a health and life safety hazard to the community. And whereas the building as shown in the site map and photographs attached as Schedule A to this report report to council dated September the 11th, 2018, and forming part of this resolution, is located on the property. Now therefore, pursuant to sections 72, 73, and 74 of the Community Charter, Council of the City of Dawson Creek resolves as follows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
Keep on going.
No, not going with that. The building located on the property as depicted in the site map and photographs attached in Schedule A of this report to council dated September the 11th, 2018, is in and creates an unsafe condition within the meaning of Section 73 2A of the Community Charter, is a declared nuisance within the meaning of Section 74 1A of the Community Charter based on the opinion of the building inspector. Number 2, that the building as described in Section 1 be completely removed in its entirety by the registered owner of the property. Number 3, that the registered owner of the property be required to cause the said lands to be left in a safe condition after the building is removed. 4, the registered owner of the property comply with this resolution by the date that is 30 days after notice of this resolution is served or provided by registered mail as required by Section 77 of the Community Charter. And 5, if the owner has not complied with the resolution within the time specified in Section 4, city staff by its workers and others may enter into the property without further notice to the owner and perform the work specified in this resolution. The cost of performing the work shall immediately become debt owed by the owner to the city, and such debt, if unpaid by December the 31st, 2018, with applicable interest on the city's standard terms for unpaid account, may be recovered by transferring the debt to the property tax account for the property pursuant to Section 258 of the Community Charter.
Thank you. Does anybody need that reread before we go to a seconder? Have a seconder, please. Councillor Schumann. Discussion.
Wow.
Councillor Rogers, good job.
Holy cow. I made a phone call. I wanted to know, okay, what's it gonna cost for us to do this? And I phoned up one of the contractors in town, and he said, oh, it's maybe 12 to 15,000. I know that wasn't in the report, and I know that we could probably get some other numbers and stuff like that. But currently, are the property taxes paid for that property right now? Like, are they up to date?
Yeah, so whatever the state of the taxes are, the state of that building is deplorable.
Yeah.
And it's unsafe, it needs to come down, and until it comes down, you can't move forward with having any further development. And as a result of that, the condition of this city is reflected on stuff like that. I think I went in there, where part of the front wall was falling down, and you look in there, no animal should be in there.
Well, the animals are in there, that's why I read it.
Yeah.
But we could possibly end up owning.
We own the dirt and then we move it forward for development.
Okay.
Councillor Javeka?
So I'm just curious, this lot, my understanding is that it is not suitable to build on in the future?
Duncan?
So through your worship, this property is within the area in the OCP designated not to be reconstructed and part of the floodplain. Kevin?
Yeah, through your worship, it's right on the edge of the creek, south on 17th Street there, right around 104th. Yeah, so it's not a property that we'd want to see development into the future because it would be in the floodplain.
And that's a good thing for us as well, because now you don't have further damages occurring as a result of it, right? So, good. Thank you. Any further discussion?
My point was
Yeah.
that there's no value to
Yeah.
the property, so
We're gonna own it,
We're gonna own it.
but that's good because it's on the floodplain.
unless you just want to own something.
We could put a park.
Further discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. We'll take a 8-minute recess to our agenda, and we finished off with our reports, and now on to item 8, bylaws. First, item 8.1, fees and charges amendment bylaw 4388 for consideration of adoption.
So moved.
Councillor Wilbur, seconded. Councillor Schumann, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 8.2, bylaw notice enforcement amendment bylaw 4386, 2018, municipal ticket information system amendment bylaw for consideration of adoption. Councillor McFadden, seconded.
Sure.
Councillor Wilbur, discussion.
Just one question.
Councillor Rogers,
Who owns the carts?
Duncan.
So through your worship, the cart stays with the property, and the fee for the cart is built into the annual or the monthly rate. But the cart actually stays with the property. The property owner moves, it stays there
The number, and it's assigned to the residential.
to that property.
Mm-hmm.
So the property owns the carts.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Fully owned.
Further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 8.3, we have our annual business license and regulation amendment bylaw number 4389, 2018 regarding cannabis for consideration of adoption.
So moved.
Councillor Wilbur, seconded. Councillor Schumann, discussion. Great job, honestly, and all the work that has been done by Kevin's, Alex, all the team, administration for getting us through to a point where we have some of this stuff in place and ready for that federal legislation. So really appreciate, obviously, the work that went into this, and really good job. Further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. .4, we have zoning amendment bylaw number 4391 for re-cannabis for consideration of third reading and adoption. Councillor Schumann, seconded. Councillor Wilbur. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. 8.5, we have report 18153 from the Development Services Manager regarding amendment to our smoking regulation bylaw number 4390, 2018. Councillor Schumann.
Move report number 18153 from the Development Services Manager regarding the Smoking Regulation Amendment Bylaw number 4390, 2018 be received, Further, that the third reading of smoking regulation bylaw number 4390-2018 be rescinded and the bylaw be given third reading as amended.
Thank you. Seconded. Councillor Wilbur, discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried? Thank you. 8.6, we have report number 18147 from the Chief Financial Officer regarding the permissive tax exemption bylaw number 4392-2018 for consideration of first three readings. Councillor Rogers?
Move the report number 18-147 from the Chief Financial Officer regarding permissive tax exemption bylaw number 4392-2018 be received. Further, that the permissive tax exemption bylaw 4392 and 2018 be given first three readings, and further that staff be directed to publish notice as required under section 227(1) of the community chart.
Thank you. Seconded. Councillor Schumann, discussion?
Would you like me to talk about permissive tax exemption?
Everybody gets to talk about permissive tax exemption.
I did it for 3 years. I'm not doing it again.
I was really struck by the note in the down by about 10% in the number of properties that are now currently on our permissive tax exemption list, down from 56 in 2017 to 51 this year. And yet you see the assessment as about consistent. So we're seeing fewer properties, and assessment will always keep up with some of that inflationary pressures that tend to go on with assessment, and that was an interesting kind of piece to me. Councillor Roger?
Yeah, and one of them was a parking lot, which I have stated years ago that those parking lots should be taxed and not be exempted. And some of those businesses that are being permissively taxed are still being permissively taxed.
Tax exempt.
Tax exempt.
Yes. Good job. Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. 8.7, we have report number 18150 from the Deputy Corporate Officer regarding sewer rates and regulation amendment bylaw 4393-2018 for first three readings. Councillor Wilbur.
I'll remove that report number 18-150 from the Deputy Corporate Officer regarding sewer rates and regulations amendment bylaw number 4393-2018 be received. Further, that sewer rates and regulations amendment bylaw number 4393-2018 be given first three readings.
Thank you. Second to Councillor Schumann. Discussion? Ready for the question? All in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. 8.8, we have report number 18159 from the City Planner regarding our land use procedures bylaw number 4394-2018 for first three readings. Councillor Rogers?
That report number 18-159 from the City Planner regarding use procedures bylaw number 4394-2018 be received. Further, that the land use procedures bylaw number 4394-2018 be given the first three readings.
Thank you. Seconded. Councillor McFadden. Discussion? Councillor Schumann?
Yeah, so this is what was alluded to earlier, the
red tape.
The reduction of red tape and an effort to streamline this process and making it easier for, or not easier, but more timely for developers to get these permits in place. And over the summer we only meet a few times, and it can be quite a delay for everyone, and so I totally support this.
I agree. Further discussion? Thank you, administration, for recognizing that and bringing it forward. All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. Mayor's business. So first item, the Flags of Hope. We had a request, a delegation by Teresa and a number of folks in regards to using the city property for their event, the Flags of Hope, recognizing the impact of opioid addiction use on individuals and families. And so they were holding an event here on the City Hall property with a barbecue and giving opportunity for people to build a flag and recognition, remembrance, and or support of an individual or family dealing with opioid. And I really give them credit for having the initiative to take that forward, and appreciate the staff and giving us the facility to be able to give it some profile in our community. Councillor Schuman?
Yeah, and we had some really great conversations at that event. We sat around making the flags, and I'm not very artsy, but I still managed to make quite a nice flag. And with the conversations that came out of it, and the interest from the people attending to really move something forward in Dawson Creek to help with this. And since then, I've received messages from a few people looking for further, I guess, direction to service and help with, you know, family members who are suffering from addiction. And it really is, I mean, we're not the city of Vancouver. It's not, you know, we don't have the issue on a grand scale that they do have, but we certainly do have this issue in our community, and we need to do all that we can moving forward to help combat this.
Thank you. Thanks for attending. I had a request when Minister Ralston was coming to town a couple of weeks ago, Minister of Jobs, Trade and Technology, and he's also sitting in as the Minister of Energy, Mines, while Minister Mongol's away having maternity leave. And so I got a note from the staff that he was going to be in town, and wondered if I could have an hour, or would be available for an hour with him and Kathleen from the Chamber. And we met with him as he was beginning a tour out to Tumbler Ridge and also to Louisiana Pacific. So I met with him for breakfast, and him and a couple of members of his staff. We talked about 2 or 3 key issues for us in the community, and obviously Minister of Jobs, Trade, and all of that stuff is Trades Training Center, and how important the resource sector is to our community, and the importance of the development of the trades for us and the jobs. And I also took the opportunity to talk to him about the flood mitigation and the flood work that we're doing. It's probably the biggest, I think, priority for us in the future in terms of moving forward. I wanted him, he sits at the cabinet table. I want to make sure we take every opportunity to be able to raise that issue in front of government that we can. Also talked to him briefly, because I knew he was going to Tumbler Ridge, about the Southern Mountain Caribou and that work that's undergoing right now by the federal minister and provincial minister of Forest Lands, Natural Resources on the Southern Mountain Caribou topic and all of that. So I really enjoyed the opportunity to meet with Minister Ralston and with Kathleen from the Chamber. It was really positive to have us there and to be able to spend a bit of time with him. I'm going to talk about the Union of BC Municipalities meeting and some of the work and meetings, and Councillor Schuman and Councillor Wilbur talked about. We had a meeting with Minister Robinson, the Minister of Community. It was our first meeting of the convention on Monday, and we talked about 3 or 4 things. We talked about the importance for us of developing a model of housing for our community, both seniors housing, affordable housing, residential housing, the work that we're undertaking in partnership with Peace River Regional District and doing the analysis and the study on that. We raised how this council has given the direction that we want to see that old Grandview School property, the Performing Arts Center property, developed for housing, a housing model for our community and our region. And she was very pleased to see that. We talked with her specifically about the flood mitigation work. We gave her a copy of the executive summary of the flood mitigation report. We gave her the overview. We have a really great picture, I think, of the floods of Dawson Creek, and the picture tells 1,000 words. And she really was really engaged in the conversation with us about how important that topic is and how important it is for us to keep in a link with them. And I said, we're going to do this work. And we're not asking for anything today except for your support and help us get some of that grant money to do this necessary work to do the analysis of what the issue is. And then we're coming and we're going to need your help to the province and the federal government. So she was very good about it and really appreciated the opportunity to meet with her. We met with Minister Fraser, the Minister of Indigenous Relations, and we talked about the work we've been doing on behalf of engaging out with our Treaty 8 neighbors, both Fort Nelson, Soto, Prophet, some of the communities that we've presented to. Talked about how we're working together to build a protocol agreement of some sort and a relationship with them on a formal basis, and talked about some of the benefits for us in terms of how we see that growing our community around those pillars of health, education, and economic opportunities, and how an urban development reserve, an urban reserve within our community can certainly benefit. We had that presentation by Urban Systems last December. And so Minister was very pleased to see the work that we've done as a community and moving forward with that, and very supportive of any of the initiatives we undertake, and I see that as being a real focus for us moving forward in terms of building that relationship with the Treaty 8 Tribal Association and our First Nations neighbors. We met with the Minister of Staff of Solicitor General and Public Safety, talked about our RCMP and the public safety message for our community in terms of how important that is. We now have a new staff sergeant in place at the community, and we're really going to work hard in moving forward with them on a public safety policing plan for our community, and really engaging in that discussion about how important RCMP and public safety is for our community. And again, they were very supportive of that. Had a sidebar meeting with the CEO and Executive Director of Geoscience BC. Geoscience BC are an organization that do a bunch of the work around resource development in the province. They got 3 themes right now that they're working on, mining, energy, and water. And those are kind of the work that, and the focuses for them as they develop initiatives going forward in the province. They get about $6.5 or $7 million a year in funding from the province to undertake some of the science work around resource development. And so I know that they did, I mentioned earlier, they did some work up here on the aquifers in the region, and water is a big focus for them. And so we talked about our reclaimed water and some of the initiatives around that. And anyway, I had a great discussion with those folks. I sat in on a meeting with the Minister of Agriculture through the Peace River Regional District, and we talked about the ALR with them and how we want that report moving forward that they've come out with now, and the implications of the ALR. And that was a discussion that we had as a group with the Peace River Regional District. Met with the Minister of Environment, again with Peace River Regional District, and one of the focuses around that, well, the two topics we met with the Minister of Environment were solid waste management and our reclaimed water. And I know that there's a number of Fort St. John are looking at implementing and building a reclaimed water facility, and I think that Area B, Brad Sperling up in around Charlie Lake, are looking at building one. And we really focused with the Minister of Environment about how we've been leading edge on that reclaimed water and how beneficial it's been to us, but it's still being underutilized in lots of respects, and we think we can maximize the usage of it to the benefit of industry if we had some support from the Minister of Environment of pushing that reclaimed water in a little more significant way through some legislation to say you use all the reclaimed water you can first before you're going to allow other sources. And so anyway, the minister was very engaged about it, and I talked a little bit about how we use it for our street cleaning and watering our plants and things like that, and also how we piped it into some of the restaurants for water for coffee. No, we didn't.
You better be careful. Like one of these days, somebody's going to believe you.
It's going to show up in the resolution.
It'll be like, we resolved Dawson Creek no longer put reclaimed water.
Nobody will be stopping for coffee. We had a great. I had a really good meeting for about an hour and a half with some of the senior executive and senior managers from TransCanada. So the president of Coastal GasLink, along with all of their construction and guys, and they've got a ton of work that they've got planned when the announcement for LNG Canada is made in the next month, and the Coastal GasLink moves forward. That's a significant project for them, and then all of the associated work. And so we really feel the benefits of having this relationship with TransCanada has been very beneficial, and we saw that last year with a number of the projects they did. And they've got a bunch of stuff planned with some compressor stations and other stuff that they've made a very significant commitment to us and our community, and I really appreciate that. And we can talk about that further later on as well, about some of those projects and the impacts of it. I mentioned earlier in the agenda where we had met with emergency preparedness, emergency management BC staff, and we asked specifically to meet with them about our flood mitigation work and flood mitigation planning, gave them a copy of our executive summary from Ebbwater. And again, said to them, look, we really are engaged and hooked into this. This is a big priority for our community, and probably the biggest issue I think we have ahead of us in respect to planning for the future of our community. And they were very impressed with the fact that we've done this work again, and really pleased to see it, and very supportive of giving us some ideas in terms of some other aspects to the work we can undertake. And so that was really good. I got invited by the Minister of Transportation to sit on a Greyhound working group, and Greyhound have a now pulling out of Western Canada, and we were the first areas impacted by it. And so there were some other communities in southern BC now that are being impacted by it. She's pulled together a working group of mayors. Jerry Thiessen from Vanderhoof and Mayor Hall from Prince George and myself are representing the North. And really talking about how we can move forward with, now we have this BC bus service, a service that's being subsidized by the province through BC Transit. But the long-term solution is going to be, how do we find a model that works on this? And so just before I went to UBCM, there's a service operating out of northern Alberta called something Express. Can't think of the name of it. Anyway, they're operating high level to Grand Prairie to Edmonton, and I reached out to the one of the principals of the company and asked them if they might be interested in having some discussion with us about expanding that service into northeastern British Columbia. And so he absolutely said he was going to take it back to his partners and bring it forward. And I mentioned that to the minister, that in order for any model to come forward to work, a private model, nobody has any understanding of what the data of the business would be to whether it's a viable business or not. Because Greyhound really were operating in some areas that it was more driven by freight than passenger, and the schedule wasn't appropriate. And so we really need to, I think, develop a partnership with a private sector company that's going to be a subsidized model for a year or 2 years until they can build it up, get a schedule in place that finds it viable, and then determine if it absolutely is a viable business that can operate on its own or not. But we need to help support that in the transition to get some sort of service for not only our residents and community, but some of those residents that are looking to get into our community for different purposes. Mayor McPherson, Mayor McKetty, and Mayor Nichols and I have had a sidebar conversation about that, about trying to develop a model of shuttle service, a transportation service serving the corridor of around Dawson Creek, Chetwynd, Tumbler Ridge to get people into here and out. And so one of the things I'm thinking about, and I haven't even brought this forward to council, but I think maybe there's an opportunity for us to leverage the airport. We have a facility there that's open, we have parking, with access. They could have perhaps a support mechanism in place that we can make better utilization of our airport, might bring passengers into our community that might be utilizing the flight service as well as use it as a location for the bus service. I don't know if we can do it or not, but I just see that as an interim measure to help somebody get in here and get a passenger service set up for our residents in our community. I also got at the last minute an opportunity to meet with the president and CEO of ICBC, and obviously in my old days of ICBC, I worked with this guy, the president of ICBC, Nicholas Jimenez. He'd just been appointed about in the last 8 or 9 months, and so we were there together and didn't know it, and so we connected and had about an hour and a half with Nicholas and some of the senior members of his team. And it was really good to, one, catch up with him and some old acquaintances. We work very closely together, but really talking about the importance of the model for service in our community, and we've had some really good discussion. And that just happened by accident at the end of one day. The Union of BC Municipalities is an opportunity for some receptions, and the CAP reception, Canadian Association of Petroleum Producers, was one of those receptions that we attended and got invited to. And so there's a huge amount of excitement in the province of British Columbia right now, across British Columbia. And I say that across British Columbia for the potential for LNG Canada to make their final investment decision. And we went to LNG Canada's reception as well on Monday night. And Susanna Pierce and Tracy from Vice President of TransCanada were there. And it's very, very significant in terms of the potential for this announcement to come, I think, within the next month to 6 weeks. But what I also was struck by, and that was with my engagement with TransCanada as well as at the reception, is people are already looking at now the next phase of projects that they believe are going to start to become more fruitful in their discussions. And I got approached by one of those companies to come and do a presentation to them as well. So people are already moving forward on that discussion of already, not only is LNG Canada looking like it's solidified, and I know Bing from Woodfibre has spent a bunch of time with Bing, so it's very solid. Councillor Schumann?
Yeah, so being that you're on the subject of the potential LNG, Resolution 120, was it 121, 122, 121, was a resolution from the from North Saanich, and it was to asking the mayors and councillors and local government people from across the BC to vote in favor of a moratorium on fracking in BC. And I'm pleased to say that that was voted down again because it was brought back last year, and it comes right at the very end of convention, and there was lots of comments from people regarding what is this? Why are they allowed to keep it? Gets voted down, but they're allowed to keep bringing it back. What is it? Just a, them trying to make sure they've got the right mix in the room to get that resolution passed. And Councillor Wilbur stood up and spoke against the resolution. She talked about our reclaimed water use, the things that the communities or the industry is doing within our communities, and invited them all up, invited anyone up to have coffee with us and have a look at what is going on in our industry up here. And basically, they were basically told in that resolution session to kind of mind their own business and, that kind of thing. So happy to say that it failed again. It did not pass on the floor, and we'll see if they bring it back next year.
Good job. Thank you. Councillor Wilbur?
I just got to add, I did just say coffee was always on if they were interested, is what I said. But I also reminded them that these are consumer-based resource products, and there's only one way to get it out of the ground. So unless they can come up with a different way, it is what it is. So I'm happy that it was defeated, and we had our Northerners there to support us.
Good job. Thank you.
Most of it's education.
Yeah.
And coffee.
Coffee.
The next I got invited to sit on 2 or 3 months ago was by the folks at Northern Health to sit on an advisory committee for Northern Health Connections, and that's the bus service for Northern Health. And so there's 2 or 3 of us that are sitting on an advisory committee with Northern Health, and we met on Thursday morning and talked about, it was our first meeting that we've had with them, and it's talking about scheduling, talking about demand, talking about where we can make the most effective use of the service and things. And so it's really good, and I really appreciate the opportunity to get some feedback into there to make best utilization of that important service for those people that are in need of health services getting into our communities and out to major communities like Prince George or Vancouver for health services. And finally, we met with the Minister of Health, and we wanted to take the opportunity to thank him for the announcement on the Dawson Creek and District Hospital, and we met with him with Tumbler Ridge, Chetwynd, and Pooskoopi and the rural folks, and really appreciated Minister Dix in moving that announcement forward, and certainly we're moving that forward in a way to get it underway and get the planning mechanism underway. We talked about the MRI issue, and certainly we have a private MRI service in Dawson Creek, and they put the public funded MRI in Fort St. John Hospital, and so the minister's made the commitment. They're moving the number of MRIs in a significant way forward to reduce that waiting list. And for us, it's how do we leverage, how do we access that private service that's available here when people are waiting long term for the wait list. And so his commitment to us is, look, we're moving forward with this public model, and we are moving forward. They've had a 70% increase in the number of MRIs. They are making some inroads into that MRI wait list, and we're going to just stay engaged with them about that and say, look, as long as the wait list is reducing and our residents are getting an appropriate level of service through the public model, fine, but if it doesn't, we want to find a model that works to be able to leverage and access the private service that exists here in the South Peace for our residents and community. We talked about our South Peace Health Services Society with them and all the work that we've got undergoing in that regard that we formed with Tumbler Ridge, Chetwynd, Poos in our rural areas. And I think it was really just very beneficial for us. And we also put in a pitch for the Northern Baccalaureate nursing program that are being pushed by the University of Northern BC, and it's going to be in partner with Northern Lights College, and all of us as communities will benefit from that nursing program, and we're really appreciative of the minister taking that forward. I omitted one meeting that we did have, and we did meet with Northern Health as a group and through the PRRD, and so again we raised the issues with them about the hospital. They're going to kick the planning mechanism off very shortly, both for the community and the region. And so Kathy Ulrich, as CEO, made the commitment we'd be involved in that. We talked about the urgent need for housing that we have in our region for seniors and affordable, and they certainly recognize that and really are hooked into this conversation for us about doing the planning for the stuff. So that was the 3.5 days or 4 days for us at the Union of BC Municipalities. And so anybody that thinks that we are down there doing anything but representing our community, it's a full go, and we plug a lot of stuff in a short period of time. But it was very beneficial, and so again, appreciate councillors joining in and Duncan attending. And then Friday morning, me and Duncan were hi-ho, we got to get home because we got the women's national team in Dawson Creek at their training camp. I forgot to put that on the agenda, but we got home and it was right down to the rink and watched some amazing athletes, amazing event, amazing job of all who put that on. And it was walking through the kind of events that are talking to all the people who are there and enjoying it, saying how lucky are we to have this kind of an event in our community where we get the best in the world in our community. I was talking to, they had a banquet on Saturday night for the ladies, and I was talking to a parent of one of the girls that were there, and for a boy playing hockey growing up and you have these idols, the boy, whoever it might be, Jerome McGinley from the Calgary Flames is the best in the world, or Flames guy. Might be Connor McDavid from the Edmonton Oilers maybe, but
Barry's
you get you get the best in the world and the opportunity to ever for a young athlete to interact with them is very difficult. But there at our arena, there at our community, there at the Jamboree, we have the best female hockey players in the world. Our community hosted the best. And how often do you get that opportunity to say that, where you got the best in the world in your community, allowing them to interact with our community and our kids? So great job to Barry and to Ryan and to Lindsay and to on and on and on, all the volunteers and all of the sponsors and all of the things that are gone necessary. And there's the week of the benefits of us having a 5-year agreement now and a partnership with Hockey Canada, where we just keep getting to do these things that bring such amazing opportunities for our community and our kids and our residents.
Yes.
And finally, I attended on Saturday morning the Relay for Life, and the organizers at Northern Lights College put on the annual Relay for Life for cancer research and cancer survivors. And so other than my bride and my babies, curing cancer is probably one of the best things I've done. And so you look at that and say, nothing like walking the walk with the cancer survivors in your community, of saying how good is that, and how good is it that these volunteers are out there raising money and raising awareness and raising the message of cancer research, and for all of us who are cancer survivors to say thank you for all of that work. And so got to spend an hour or two down there walking with my boy Tucker, because Tucker was happy to have his dad home. So that's it for me under those 3 or 4 items. We have one item that's coming forward in 9.2 as our economic development grants through the Peace River Regional District. And I brought it back last year through our budget stuff because,
I think we had an ask from a delegation this morning.
I'll do that at the end.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. And we do a thing through the Peace River Regional District, the old South Peace Economic Development function, where we would have an allocation of some money and we would pick projects through the committee, and they've changed that structure a little bit now. And so I've provided the report for the list of the dev stuff we committed to and participated in last year. And all of us at the Regional District participated in the Dinosaur Gallery at Tumbler Ridge. Some of us chose to be part of the Tumbler Ridge Geopark last year as our nomination of funding. We put in for the South Peace Business to Business Directory, the Coal Forum, the Airport Marketing, the Health Society. We did the Business to Business. And so those are all partnered with different communities or different electoral areas. And so I brought this forward because now in the new structure for preparing for the 2019 budget through the Peace River Regional District, we got to put a list forward. And And so I'm going to probably pick away at those same kind of items for us in the health market, the health society, the marketing, that stuff. But I also think that we should put forward something to help try to put some ECDEV money into our fair and exhibition. And so I've talked to the electoral area directors about that, and I'm going to bring that forward as an initiative through the South Peace Economic Development Commission for some funding to the through that Peace River Regional District model. And we have to have it in by October 15th, so I'm going to put that list together. I'll circulate it back to council, but I'm going to get it forward on that agenda for October 15th for Peace River Regional District. And I wanted to bring it forward to you guys for information at this point because I'm going to put those items forward and then it starts the budget deliberation. So anybody have any questions on that or any input that you'd like to think of? Should I continue on or back out of? Councillor Javetkov and Councillor Schumann?
The directory, business directory, it's specific to the resource industry here?
It's specific to the whole South Peace, and so it's primarily driven by, I think, those resource sectors, but it's anybody, right? Anybody that wants to. It's for the businesses who want to register and get their name onto that directory. For a company like TransCanada, as an example, that are coming in to do some work, they can identify then those businesses that they might be looking for specifically, like a first aid business or gravel aggregate business or something like that.
Is there a product available now?
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. It's up and operating, and in fact, we got Certvine is going to be here tomorrow when we got a meeting with the mayors and electoral areas, and one of the items we're going to be talking about is that.
Is it on our website? Or?
And there's a link on our city website for the Certvine South Peace Business to Business Directory. Yep, absolutely. Or there was.
Yeah, I'll double check and sure it's still there.
I'm sure it's there. Yeah. And I've even mentioned it to the Treaty 8 associations for them to be able to say, you know what, here's an opportunity maybe for you guys to register your businesses to get them access to that same directory, right?
And it's limited to South Peace?
Yep. Yep. I think the Fort St. John or North Peace or different places have their own kind of energy services and different things like that that are much more specific. We approached them with it, but they were more interested in doing their own stuff. So, Councillor Schumann?
Yeah, so looking at this list, certainly I'm in favor of the business to business, like us continuing to contribute to that, this business directory, the health society, our airport marketing, Love Northern BC, South Peace Love Northern BC. The question I have is the geopark. We contribute a significant amount of money to the geopark, and I'm concerned about the future of the geopark. I'm concerned about the discord that is happening within the village or district of Tumbler Ridge around that whole thing, and so it'll be interesting to hear what the conversation is at the regional district around funding that. I know one of the regional district meetings that I did sit in on, there was some big questions about, as significant funders, the regional district, they needed some more answers, I guess, around what was happening there. But certainly in favor of putting some active money into the fall fair as well.
Yeah. Well, so honestly, when we were doing this stuff last year and we had an opportunity, I think I brought it back to council a couple times, the things we were going to go into or recommend we would go into and other things. And so I think the Tumbler Ridge Geopark is and was a very important initiative for us as a region, because the geopark, the museum, the paleontology, it brings people into our region and we benefit from that. And I thought it was going to be supported by all, but it wasn't, and I was surprised at that, and as a result of that, it increased the amount of money that Dawson Creek put in through our allocation into that requisition. So this year I'm going to pay, well, hopefully I'll get to pay more attention to that in terms of being involved in that discussion, and we'll certainly bring that back to council. So I don't think I need a motion. It's just for information at this point, and I'll bring it back to council for information. And the last one we had was Jamie Maxwell was here from the triathlon group and wanted support from us. And Duncan, is there anything in there unusual or outside of the norm that we've normally done?
Through your worship, it's pretty standard. It's a lot earlier than we've received in previous years, so I really can't tell you what other events will be happening that weekend as far as the cruisers or the the event in the park, the music in the park, so I really can't speak on that, but it appears to be fairly standard. The only piece I think you had mentioned was sending a letter out to the groups that are supporting the event.
Well, I think that might, you know what, might take that away as a separate stream,
Okay.
because I think there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes on where we get local businesses supporting initiatives and events like the women's national team, like minor hockey, like those things. And when we have that, we should maybe have a way for us as a community to send her a letter of support or a little proclamation saying thanks for your support to our community, and Ski Hill, Nordic, like all of that stuff gets support, and we should be trying to take the initiative. So I think I wouldn't mind exploring that a little bit as a separate stream.
Okay.
But I made a note of it. So anyway, I think at this point we need a motion to endorse the Dawson Creek Triathlon Committee request. Councillor Schumann, Councillor Rogers, discussion. Councillor Wilbur?
Just through you to staff, I know there probably is going to be a user group kind of follow-up meeting coming up for the fields, that kind of stuff they usually do in the fall. And I'm just wondering if that time we could let those user groups know that that date is kind of their tentative date, and then that would allow them to not book anything at the same time. So it's well in advance and would give them the opportunity to then form their tournaments, that kind of stuff.
We will do that.
Thank you. Further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. That's it for me under mayor's business.
Wow.
Any questions? No. Diary 10.1, anything?
Nothing to update, Your Worship.
Consent calendar, we got a bunch of correspondence and different stuff that's brought forward. Councillor Schumann, seconded Councillor McFadden. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Strategic priorities?
Nothing to update, Your Worship.
Media? Austin? Thank you. So we have a motion to recess to close.
Yep.
Yep.
Councillor McFadden, Councillor Rogers. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank
Sound
you.
like
So
you
we'll
sound
have
Wilbur there, Rogers.
5 minutes.